Yes, welcome to the December 2025 meeting of the Ballpark Community Council. Thank you for dealing with us as we sort through a little bit of technical junk.
So Amy, when I click on polls and quizzes, it does bring up a window, says all your polls and quizzes and surveys are available for this meeting. There's a create button. When I click create, it does actually, oh, this time it didn't. This time it opens up the template right in the window. Previously, it opened up in the browser as part of the scheduler that's on the back end. So I was gonna say I could help create one for you. But I don't know how you would run it if that feature's not showing up, unless there's someone else in person that might check their device and see if polls and quizzes is showing as an option.
Well, maybe it'll be a non-issue. I'm not sure. Um, anyway, I appreciate you trying. Um, yes, I don't. So sorry. Thank you all. As always, we thank the city library for dealing with this stuff with us. Patrick is excellent. Um, and we also thank the Salt Lake Community College for hosting the physical part of this meeting. There are lots of folks here. I can unblur them. There are their fuzzy bodies. But Patrick is rocking the headset. I agree, Brandy. But anyway, we're having a little trouble. Zoom updated today, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. But maybe we will just forge ahead and see how it's going. Hello, Council Member-elect Erica Carlson. Thank you for joining us virtually. I understand you are out of town. But maybe you are not able to unmute where you are. Thank you for joining us regardless. So tonight we have some. Is Annie here yet? No. Okay, tonight we hope to be joined by our Salt Lake School District board member, Annie Romano, and we also have some service providers in the room who already spend a lot of their time in our community in evenings doing extra work. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. I thought maybe we were going to go with Annie first, but parking this evening is really challenging here at the community college. It is truly an activated space. There is a play going on. There's lots of people here to give flowers to people, so that's cool. But it has made physically getting to our location a little more challenging than usual. So thank you for those of us in the room who are forging ahead with this. All right. That being said, Sean, would you like to go ahead and go through yours? Would you like me to project your slides?
Yeah, for the folks online,
Yeah,
I think that would be useful. And then I've got some handouts for the people in the room. I thought I'd come up here. Does this work?
it totally works for me.
Great.
That-
So I understand the assignment to be,
Yeah, who are you, Sean?
Yeah,
Why did I invite you here?
yeah, so,
What
sorry,
was that
thank you.
crazy impulse?
I am Sean McMillan and I am the executive director of First Step House. And First Step House is a behavioral health services provider. I only got about 5 of those, and then I've got about 10 of these, so. We are a behavioral health services provider that was founded in 1958 here in Salt Lake City. Our original facility was actually down where the Salt Palace is now. We had one of the old mansions down there back in the day. Back then we were a true halfway house, so 3 hots and a cot. As soon as you were physically well enough to work, you were expected to go to work and start paying rent. That was the deal. A lot of the guys were coming to us from the Salt Lake County Jail back in that day. And since then, we have become a Joint Commission accredited behavioral health services provider. And I'm not anybody in healthcare in here. Joint Commission is the entity that accredits hospitals and other healthcare providers, and or we fit into their buckets.
Sorry, wrong window. That was my bad.
Okay.
We're doing everything we can to prevent the infinite loop of sound.
And so we have 12 facilities here in Salt Lake County, and we do a number of different things. We were originally an alcohol and drug treatment facility out of one location. And then a few years later, actually in the late 80s, the late 70s, 80s is when we made that transition from being a halfway house to being a treatment provider. We're very focused on individuals who are dealing with alcoholism and also drug addiction. That has since evolved into, or the more appropriate term is a substance use disorder. So out of one facility, the facility has always had dorms and a few individual sleeping rooms, or not individual sleeping rooms, 4 and 5 man sleeping rooms. We're men only in our residential treatment programs. So I should make you aware of that. Then we got into transitional housing, because what we were finding was that many of the people that we were serving were doing really well in treatment. They were getting jobs while in treatment, transitioning out into the community, but because of their histories, the only people that would rent to them were people in the neighborhoods that they had come from, which puts them back into very high-risk environments. And they were struggling, and many of them lapsed, and they would come back to our front door and knock and ask for help, and we would of course readmit them. And we got crystal clear that we needed to develop transitional housing, and so late 80s, early 90s, started to develop transitional housing. Operated a couple of houses for about a decade, total of 16 beds in those. I joined the organization in 2003, and we added a couple of more transitional housing facilities, got us up to about 30 transitional housing beds. And we also made the transition from being transitional housing to being recovery housing. And recovery housing is an evidence-based practice. The facilities in Utah are licensed. It means that we have to operate according to certain standards. The individuals who are living in our recovery housing are concurrently enrolled in outpatient treatment. They submit to random urinalysis testing, and they can live in our housing for up to 24 months. And yes, they would be continuously enrolled in outpatient treatment, but the number of touches would start at 4 days a week, and then it might drop down to 3, 2, and 1. And then towards the end of the 24-month period, it could be a case management contact with a case manager or with a therapist. So it could be a very light touch. And that's a big deal, because what we know in the data is that individuals in recovery housing, we start to see the best outcomes at 6 months. So if we've got folks who are staying 9, 12, 24 months, we know that they're on really solid ground and going to transition fully to the community, living independently, and do quite well. In 2014, and with that, I want to ask you to turn to page 4 on this. So what Amy is sharing with you is a document that I sent to her earlier this evening. She is welcome to share it with anyone who is interested. So just let Amy know. It's going to look like this.
Yes, I don't know why it's not up to my screen.
Okay.
Maybe I can stop sharing and reshare. Because on my
Scroll.
screen, it looks like the piece of paper you're holding. It doesn't make any sense. I will stop sharing and reshare.
Okay. So
I do not like this update to Zoom at all.
Is this an update to Zoom?
Zoom updated today, and I would like to argue not well.
Not well. So a few
Okay,
glitches.
sharing, resharing.
So, for those of you in the room who've got this page,
For the left key.
if you look down the left, you see the banners, treatment, housing, services, and case management. I'm going to talk about just treatment for a second. So, we have a facility, on Fifth East between Fourth and Fifth South. We call that Central City or Central City Campus. It is, 72 beds of residential substance abuse treatment for men. Ground floor, you've probably seen it. You may not have known that you saw it, but if you come out of the parking lot on the west side of the Smith's Marketplace, you're looking right at it. And anyway, 72 beds of residential substance abuse treatment for men. The ground floor is the living quarters, and down in the basement are clinical services space, industrial kitchen, group rooms, all of that sort of stuff. Then Fair Park, which is over on Grant Street, which is about 750 west and 4th north. We have another 72 bed facility, also men. And it's an old LDS ward house that we have repurposed for a residential substance abuse treatment center. We've had that building since the 80s, since the early 80s. And we're actually quite sentimentally attached to it, and continue to invest in it to make sure it survives another 150 years. So, yeah. And then we have our REACH facility, and REACH is a social impact investing project. It was very interesting for us to do, and it allowed us from the ground up to develop a program that targeted individuals that were high risk to reoffend, who also met criteria for a substance use disorder. So that's in Mill Creek, just off 3300 South, 60 beds. And then we have our outpatient clinic, which is immediately to the north of the Central City facility, in one of our apartment buildings there. And then REACH has its own outpatient clinic that is at the 3300 South facility. And then we also provide a clinician and a peer support specialist who are on site at, it's one, and it's two people, and they rotate back and forth between the Gail Miller Homeless Resource Center and the Pamela Atkinson Resource Center, so the homeless shelters. And what the deal is there is when someone knocks on the door at one of the HRCs, one of the questions that is asked them are, do you feel like you're a person with a drug or an alcohol problem? And would you like help getting access to treatment? And if that person says yes to either one of those questions, then they're flagged, and our people start to connect with them. We call it a sort of engagement. And so if someone were to say, then we would meet with them before they left the next morning to ask them what their particular interests were, and then begin the process of doing an assessment to determine the best fit for them in the community, whether that's First Step House or Odyssey House or House of Hope, or Valley Behavioral Health, or any other behavioral health services provider in Salt Lake County. What are you interested in? You want residential treatment? If you meet criteria for residential treatment, are you more interested in outpatient treatment? What is your interest in? And then we will complete the assessment. So it's a full clinical assessment. And then we will make a referral to whoever that individual decides they want to go to. So that's our treatment services. Housing, I had started to talk about our housing programs. These are also men only. And we have 4 of those facilities located over in the Fair Park neighborhood. They're scattered. One's on Redwood Road. We got a couple on Grant Street, down the street from our facility. We've also got one over on 8th West, about a half a block away from the treatment center. And to say more about recovery housing, it's a highly independent living situation. You are free to come and go. You're expected to pay rent. Your rent is based on 30% of your income. So whatever you're making, your 30% of whatever that is comes to First Step House to pay your portion of the rent. You're required to be enrolled in outpatient treatment. You're required to participate in house meetings. So for the particular recovery residence house, and then you are also required to submit to random urinalysis testing, and that could be as often as 3 times a week, or it could be 1 time a week, or it could be a couple of times a month, depending on what the situation is for that particular individual. We try to individualize it as much as possible. And something that I want to say about how we use urinalysis testing, it's a really powerful tool in treatment. And it all benefit is that it is an objective measure of whether or not the individual is complying with the treatment expectations. It's useful to the criminal justice system because a lot of our guys are on probation. So it's very objective. It's yes or no. But here's how we handle it. If you turn up positive on a drug screen, that doesn't mean we kick you out. What that means, because we're a healthcare provider, remember, is that we, as the provider, don't have your treatment plan properly modulated. So recovery housing might not be the best environment for you, or outpatient treatment 2 days a week might not be enough. Maybe you need to go 4. Maybe you need to come back into the residential program. But we don't kick you out of treatment just because you express symptoms of your condition. We consider that bad healthcare, unethical. So I think we're different than other providers in that way, that we take some responsibility and say, okay, this to us means we don't have your treatment plan well designed to meet your needs. We also have veterans transitional housing up on the VA campus, 72 beds. The facility is owned by the Housing Authority of the city. We're the service provider and operator. And the population that we're targeting are chronically homeless, mentally ill, substance abusing vets who have been who are also dealing with comorbid health conditions, so physical health conditions, and being in proximity to the VA, because it's on the VA campus, is really beneficial to these folks. They can stay for up to 24 months. The job that is for us to do is get the individual stabilized, make sure that they can handle their activities of daily living, so hygiene, that they can manage their own medications, they can, make their appointments and all of that sort of stuff. But most of these guys are eligible for what's called a HUD-VASH voucher, which means that they've got a housing subsidy and are going to move into an independent living situation at some point in the future, within that 24 months. And then more recently, First Step House has become a permanent supportive housing developer and service provider. So permanent supportive housing is a type of affordable housing. Our housing targets the housing and supportive services needs of individuals who are 30% of the area median income and below. And that means their annual income is about $15,000 per year or below.
So we call that deeply affordable housing, right?
Yeah, this is what is, you'll hear the term deeply affordable housing. That's what we do. And we have a further specialty niche within that. the housing that we develop is targeted to meet the needs of individuals who meet criteria for serious mental illness. So that could be PTSD, it could be depression that is disabling, it could be an anxiety disorder that is disabling, it could be schizophrenia, bipolar illness, the gamut, but there is a very set, um, a highly specified set of diagnoses that fit that term serious mental illness. We, in each of our apartments, have 24/7, 365 supportive services staff. There are staff. They're not security staff, though that's one of their functions. They're actually mental health trained supportive services staff. So they've been trained in motivational interviewing. They've been trained in crisis de-escalation, all of that sort of stuff. And their job is to make sure that the apartment buildings stay safe 24/7, 365. The other thing that we have on site are what we call clinical case managers. And so those are master's level licensed mental health therapists. And each of the tenants in each of the apartment buildings is assigned to one of these clinical case managers, and they manage the case. They make sure that the individual is showing up to their doctor's appointments, whether that's a psychiatrist appointment or the doc who is managing their diabetes, because most of these folks that we're serving have comorbid physical health conditions. And in many instances, they're dealing with trimorbid conditions. So they've got a mental health condition, they've got an acute physical health condition, and they've got a chronic physical health condition. So they're complex folks. That's down here, Central City. Over the access is over on Denver Street. So that's the one of those funny Salt Lake City blocks that split a street. Probably was an alley back in the day. Medina Place, 40 units of permanent supportive housing, slightly different population, but still within the parameters of our area of expertise. These are folks who don't meet criteria for serious mental illness, but they're high utilizers of behavioral health services in Salt Lake County. And what that means is that they've been in and out of the behavioral health services system. They could have spent days or weeks or months at University Neuropsychiatric. They could have been at Odyssey House or Valley or First Step House multiple times in the past. What we recently did an average, we averaged the current tenants. And among this population who live in Medina Place, the average number of previous treatment episodes is 9. So they've been to at least 9 programs in the past. Stratford Apartments is down on the northeast corner of the northwest corner of Second South, Second East. You may be familiar with the Stratford Hotel. Stratford Hotel had been affordable housing for many, many years. And community stakeholders came together and said, this project is going to be available. We really want First Step House to acquire it and to develop it as permanent supportive housing. The population that is typically living there are a population that actually really need to be in permanent supportive housing, not just affordable housing. And so we want you to acquire it, and the community really rallied to help us make that happen. So those are the 3 that we have in service at this time. And then in development, we have 44 North. This is going to look 44 North is going to look exactly like Central City. It's a new construction, 67 units. Something that will be new for us is most of our apartment buildings are 1 bedroom, so a single occupant. But 44 North will have 4 2-bedroom units, so that will be interesting for us. We think there's need out there. There are family units where both members of the family are dealing with mental health conditions, and they want to stay together. And so hopefully we're gonna be able to find those folks and ideally get them off the street and into stable housing here at 44 North. 273 East is a project that we're working on, 273 East, 800 South. And then most recently, we have agreed to partner with the Road Home for what is phase one of a two-phase project. And we're calling it at this point in time Gardens at Palmer. This will be on the State Street facing side of the Palmer Court property. It's 187 units. First Step House will in one building, First Step House will have responsibility for 80 of the 187. The target population is this SMI population. What the Road Home concluded, and the reason that they reached out to us to partner on it is that
Acronym SMI,
serious mental illness. Sorry. Yes, serious mental illness. Sorry about the acronyms. Stop me anytime. So the Road Home, they understood that they had become a housing provider for folks whose mental health and physical health conditions were beyond their expertise. And but they still want to stay in the housing business, the affordable housing business, the permanent supportive housing business. And it's very important that they continue to serve this population. And so they brought us in as a partner. We will be a co-owner and service provider on site for that 80 units. We're right now in the development phase, so we're past the pre-development phase. We applied for low-income housing tax credits, and they have been awarded to us for this project, and now we're in the design phase for the building.
Low income housing tax credits are something that's just gonna like continue to exist, right? Just as far as we understand in terms of
Today,
the federal landscape.
Today, as you asked me that question, they still exist.
Okay, oh man, what a diplomatic way you answered that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Something else.
We need to keep our eyes open.
Okay.
We need to be paying attention, and that is an incredibly important program that the federal government has administered for many, many years. It is a public-private partnership. It brings private money to organizations like First Step House that develop affordable housing for these special need populations.
My understanding is it's basically the only way to get deed restricted affordable housing.
This kind of housing, deeply affordable
Yeah.
housing, does not occur naturally in the market.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, and those of you who know Wayne Niederhauser, and you guys know Wayne, do you? Oh, yeah. Anyway.
I know Wayne.
Well, Wayne Niederhauser, former president of the Utah State Senate, impeccable conservative credentials, is known for saying deeply affordable housing will not occur naturally in the marketplace.
Yep, I heard him say it at the opening of the new clubhouse on New Alliance House.
1805 South.
Yeah, 1805.
Yeah, and he's right. The populations are difficult for unprepared property owners to manage. They have healthcare needs that are beyond the scope or the realistic expectation of a typical landlord. And we choose to be the landlord for those folks. We've got the skills and the services that we can wrap around to meet the needs of the population. And the thing that you need to know is that fortunately our laws protect individuals who are dealing with mental illness. We cannot casually put them in jail or put them in hospitals indefinitely. They have civil rights just like the rest of us. So these are folks who do not meet criteria for civil commitment.
Oh, thank you for using that phrase. Sorry.
They do not meet criteria for civil commitment. These are citizens with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of anyone else, anywhere in the community. But they struggle, they struggle to maintain jobs that earn them a living wage. And that puts them at very high risk for homelessness, and that's why we see so many homeless in our communities who appear to be struggling with either a serious drug problem or a mental health condition. Okay. All right, I want to get to the secret sauce. So I've talked about some things that have alluded to this, but we really see our responsibility as an organization to wrap around the individual and meet those social determinant of health needs of the individual. These are folks who are very often very detached from their families of origin, their churches, those other social networks that help us stay stable. Um, you know, any one of us could end up destabilized, but we would probably have a few people that we could turn to for some help before we ended up on the street. Would you agree? It would be a little while. And in that period of time, you would probably be able to get back on your feet. Because you've got those social networks to support you restabilizing. Many of the folks that we're talking about here are totally detached from all of those social networks. And so we see it as our responsibility to compensate for that gap. That's who. So when your question of me, the assignment was, where does First Step House fit? That's where we fit.
That's very good answer.
Now, that's where we fit. It is our responsibility to wrap around and compensate for those gaps in social capital that are present for the individuals in our community who are struggling with drug and alcohol problems and mental health conditions. That's who we are. That's what we do.
So I'm guessing you're running at like 95% capacity all the time, at least.
Yeah.
If not.
Yeah, our
98.
housing is at just about 100%, and
Yeah.
our treatment centers are operating between 90 and 100%. Please.
It's kind of along those lines, do you actually have like a wait list?
For the housing, yes, and depending on type, so for housing, we will refresh our waiting list about once a year. And how we do that is we send out notices to our referral partners in the community, and we will let them know, hey, we're gonna refresh our waiting list. We've got about 3 units that are available. We need you to submit applications for individuals who you think would be a good fit for this apartment building, or this apartment building. And we'll often open up the portal to accept applications at midnight. So like midnight on Sunday night, so Sunday going into Monday. We do that deliberately, and by 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. when our staff start to show up and open up the portal to see how many applications we have. The last time we did that, we had 108 applications by 8 a.m. Sunday into Monday for 3 units. So that's what it's like out there. And the referral sources for us are mental health court, the VOA, the Volunteers of America, Assertive Community Treatment Team, or the Odyssey House Assertive Community Treatment Team, or the Valley Behavioral Health Assertive Community Treatment Team, or University Neuropsychiatric. It could be a range of providers in the community that is submitting the applications for these folks. And these applications are complex. It's 2 25-page applications. One is for the tax credit compliance, and one is for the Section 8 housing subsidy. And you've got to have all of your bells and whistles crossed. And in fact, what we find is that with the populations that we target, is that most individuals without the assistance of a case manager cannot get through the application. So it's really important if you know someone that they connect with a housing case manager at any organization that they're connected to jump through the hoops to complete the applications. Did I answer your question okay? On the treatment side, depending on the time of year, in summer, because the weather's nice, it's easier to be outside. The wait list might be 3 to 6 weeks. In the winter, the wait list will be 12 to 18 weeks to get in. And that's pretty typical. So we're part of it. We're what is considered an essential provider by Salt Lake County Division of Behavioral Health. And that means that we're a contracted provider. That means that we target the needs of the safety net population. And we're all highly collaborative. And so those safety net, those essential provider organizations are First Step House, Odyssey House, House of Hope, VOA, Volunteers of America, and those are the major ones. Or Volunteers of America, Valley Behavioral Health, and Volunteers of America. Those are the larger providers that have outpatient services, residential services, housing type programs. And we serve similar populations, but we're also each sort of different, and that's intentional. This is the secret sauce. Case management that in as many instances as possible, we've tried to make indefinite, which means that the case manager doesn't separate from you because you completed treatment or because you moved out of transitional housing. The case manager will follow you into your home, whether it's a supportive housing environment or you've gotten a job and you're earning a living wage and you're living independent. The case manager stays connected to you for as long as you want the case manager to stay connected to you. That's the ideal. We have on-site medical. We're not able to be a primary healthcare clinic because of our volume. We're admitting so many people who have so many complex conditions that our healthcare providers would not be able to manage those as a primary healthcare physician would.
So does that mean that you interface with 4th Street or?
We do. And so what our care provider will do is say, who have you been going to for your healthcare? Because I think you need to be treated for COPD. You've also got diabetes that has not been well managed, and we got to connect you to somebody. Have you been seeing the folks down at 4th Street? Would you like to see them as your primary healthcare provider? Because they do maintain a primary healthcare practice. But some will say, yeah, I don't want to be spending a lot of time down in that neighborhood. I'd rather go somewhere else. And then we've got clinics in the community that we've got relationships with. So Martindale Clinic, which is attached to Odyssey House, does primary health care. But then we've also got the access to all of the clinics up at the university. We've got great relationships with all of them. So a way to think about it is that our care provider in-house is sort of the hub, and then she's referring folks out to specialty care providers. And then she's the recipient of information about how that individual's care is going, if anything has been prescribed, and then that's passed down to our nurses who are embedded in each of the residential treatment facilities. Does that make sense?
I'm asking the folks online if they have questions because I want to be a little sensitive to.
Yeah.
We've got a couple other super important people to talk tonight about.
Okay.
One
So I
about
can,
services.
yeah, if you don't give me a time limit, I just go.
I'm noticing that, but I have important things to say.
So, anyway, this is the secret sauce. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. And then the other thing that we're doing, if you could stroll up just a little bit more. What we recognize and what the community recognizes is that for Step House alone, we'll never be able to meet the full need in the community. We can't develop enough units fast enough. So we have started partnering with private as well as nonprofit developers to provide case management services to folks who are living in these apartment buildings. And by the time by 2027, we suspect that we believe, because we're contracted for that, we'll have 303 units. We're doing scattered site case management for folks who are living in affordable units in the community. So the assignment was, where do you fit?
Yep.
Did I do that, Amy?
I think so. Do other folks have questions about? Sounds like there's some very important work.
Thank you.
I appreciate, I know what the phrase civil commitment means. I've done some homework. I know it sounds like something other than what it is. I appreciate understanding that that is not the population you're serving.
Yeah.
What does civil commitment mean?
That's a great question.
Yeah, so the question was, what is civil commitment? So civil commitment is a mechanism within the law that allows for a mental health professional or a law enforcement officer, and maybe a fireman, but I'm not sure. Probably, I don't think it's fireman. To take the individual into custody. Because they are a risk to harm themselves or someone else. So what that means is I've made a statement that would cause a law enforcement officer or mental health professional to conclude that I may try to commit suicide. Okay, so I'm a risk to harm myself, or I'm a risk to harm someone else. So so-and-so has been picking on me, and it could be an imaginary, you know, anybody who comes close to me, I'm gonna kill them. You make either one of those statements, you're a threat to yourself or others. Either the mental health professional, actually a medical professional too, or a law enforcement officer could pink sheet you. You would be taken to a psychiatric facility for stabilization. Then you would see another set of mental health care providers, and they would determine whether or not that was whether or not you have cleared, or if you will continue to be a threat to yourself or others. If you do continue to be, they can keep you for, I believe it's up to 72 hours, where you have to do another level of judicial process, and the prosecutor needs to demonstrate that you're a threat to yourself or others, or the judge can set you free. But if they're able to demonstrate that you are a risk to yourself or others, you can be kept for like a 2-week period, and then you have to see someone else again, and then a 2-week period. That's when you're talking about civil commitment as a place.
Right.
Okay. But civil commitment is also an order. And so you can be civilly committed, and that means that you're under the supervision of the court, typically the mental health court, and they can direct you, order you to comply with medication. If you refuse to take the oral, they can order a long-acting injectable, medication to manage psychiatric illness. So I'm talking schizophrenia, I'm talking, tormenting voices kind of stuff. So they can order that, but you live in the community. No.
But only a mental health officer can do that. Is that correct?
Only what?
A mental health officer can do that. Is that correct? Or
A mental health officer can do that, but a police officer could do it too. And when you say mental health officer. It's a licensed mental health therapist, so a social worker, a clinical mental health therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, they could pink sheet you.
Yeah.
But that would just be the short-term stay,
Understood.
you know, and the thing that's important about this is that, you know, up until like the 1960s, you could, American citizens could be committed to institutions or asylums indefinitely.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore, and that's why it's a big deal that we're talking about civil commitment again. It's a powerful tool. It helps us as professionals. It's a tool that helps us to help people.
Yeah.
It's really a valuable tool.
Yeah.
But it's got to have strong guardrails, super strong guardrails, to make sure that we're doing frequent review. You know, do you meet criteria for continued civil commitment if you're someone living in the community? Or if you're someone who is at an institution or in one of our institutions, whether it's the state hospital or University Neuropsychiatric or the Huntsman, I'm sorry, Mental Health Institute, you know, do you meet criteria to be held there? No. We gotta keep our eye on it because Trump's executive order from July 24th talked about looking at this law and can we make modifications to it?
Randy online has a question up
Please.
there you can see about,
Yeah, that was Brandy, that was an inaccurate statement. They can make a statement that they intend to harm themselves, but if they make a statement that they intend to harm someone else, yes.
that's Brandy. She's
Oh.
from the internet.
Okay, so someone like, you know, like I had thrown rocks thrown at me and various other things. So it would qualify, you said, or it would not? Because you cut out a bit there. And
If
threat.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, and verbal threats in addition to physical violence.
If they threaten to harm someone else, that is qualifying.
I wonder why they didn't know that. That's troubling.
Who was they?
What? What was that?
Who was they?
Well, this was a few months ago. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was just a couple of random police officers. I'm pretty sure I'll have to look back on my information and notes. But yeah, they said, oh, you know, they threatened you. They have to threaten to be harming themselves or want to kill themselves. But if they commit, you know, murderous threats or threats against people, we can't take them in. Doesn't qualify. I'm like, okay, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Brandy, I have heard that before. And I don't know what the explanation is. I don't know why Salt Lake PD in the instances that I'm familiar with. I'm not sure why Salt Lake PD is drawing that line.
Okay, I'll let Chief Red know. I'll just pass this information on to him, what I heard tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Good clarification, Brandy. All right, I'm gonna be real cognizant of the times. I'm really, oh, you have a question?
Kelly Lake is very, very good.
Oh, that is very good. Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate understanding where you all fit into the network of providers.
Thanks.
I was gonna, a long time ago, I was gonna ask, I feel like there was a CIP application for, are you getting a mid-block crosswalk?
Yes.
Yes, I love hearing that, just because I do sometimes see people crossing the street there unsafely. But right, I wouldn't call that your
So
main campus, but
we had wanted to do it and they
Yeah.
told us no. And then actually a friend of mine, Dorothy Plesh, shops there.
Yeah.
And she's also a First Step House donor.
good.
And she was pulling out and almost hit somebody who was jaywalking.
Yeah,
And she called me up and said, you gotta get a mid-block walkway. You know, there's just too much foot traffic in that neighborhood.
I would agree.
And with all of the apartment buildings in that neighborhood, it's not just us.
Yeah,
There's a
where's this?
lot of foot traffic.
Right near the downtown Smith's Marketplace.
So like right in front of 450.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of foot traffic there, and there Trader Joe's is like right on, yeah.
Yeah, Trader Joe's is over at 6.
There's a pretty major bus stop right there, right? in
Yeah,
front.
that's true.
major bus stop.
Mhm.
Well, do you have we love pedestrian infrastructure here. Do you have a sense of when that's going up?
We're going back and forth with the city right now, about where to position the walk. We want it to move a little bit south of where they want it to be. And they want it to enter right into like basically our front door,
Oh,
and they don't want that.
yeah, that might, I'd feel a little weird if a crosswalk ended at my front door.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. No.
Damon, you're gonna talk about a different set of our unsheltered population. I feel like it's a natural fit to go right after. Is that okay? There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at it.
Hopefully. So it's kind of cool because I think some of you already know me. I'm actually a Ballpark resident, so I'm excited when Amy reached out that they'd like to know more about what we do. But just for context, I am our operations director at Unsheltered Utah, and we partner with the Second and Second Coalition. So our presentation, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about who we are, what that all looks like, what we actually do, and then how you guys can get involved and help us with that.
It's a busy time of year for you. I appreciate you
Thanks,
making
bye.
the time.
I won't talk as long as Sean because I've slept 3 hours in the last like Thursday, so.
I'm sorry. That means you need more volunteers.
So how this all began, there was actually a group of local kind of advocates and advocacy experts that were finding that our unsheltered friends and relatives were, freezing to death. So they wanted to find a way to get them out of the cold. At that time, it was actually illegal to have any shelter that didn't meet the, different building codes, zoning codes, things like that. However, they found out that a church, they can host their congregation for events and things like that. So they partnered with First United Methodist Church, who offered their space to host what they called movie nights. And they would invite their congregation, which was any friend, relative, in our community. And they'd come in, and if you happened to fall asleep while watching the movie, that was no problem. Since then, they've kind of really solidified that. In 2022, we actually really advocated up at the Capitol where we were able to get the Code Blue legislation passed. We'll talk about that in a minute. And that's really when we were able to start opening more locations and have it really as an ongoing program. So just a little bit more of that history. Like I said, it started with our grassroots groups just kind of putting that together. We eventually got state support and expansion with Wayne Muirhauser as a big advocate for that, getting the Code Blue put into place. Last year, we actually had staffing for the first time. So that's when I came on as an operations director. Been there about a year now. And we had a lot more community support to where we were able to actually open 2 locations, not just one. This summer, we went through a lot of leadership and changes within our organization, just kind of restructuring things. Our new executive director is Miranda Cutler, and she couldn't be here tonight. She's actually doing another meeting right now. So it's busy times, like Amy was saying. Right now is when we get really busy. So first, let's talk a little bit about what Code Blue is, since that's the specific thing that we currently are doing. The goal is to provide a warm space for our unsheltered friends and relatives. That way they're not going to be outside in the cold and freezing to death. It helps also to kind of, I know in our community, almost every one of these meetings, we have some questions about the homelessness issues and things around that. But this gives them a place to go and be warm and safe for the night. And we're really proud that in our organization, they really feel the love there. When they come into our shelters, they really feel like they're at home for that night. So we provide that safe space, and it is very cost effective. So only about 30% of our staff that are there for the night are actually employed or contract workers. Everyone else is volunteers, and we'll talk more about that at the end. And it just really gives a lot of meaningful opportunities for us to kind of with the people that are unhoused, find out what their issues are, what resources we can kind of tell them about First Step House, other programs that were like, hey, in the morning, how about you go and try to get involved with this program? But what is a Code Blue night? So that law, as I said, was started in 2023, and counties have to provide supplemental life-saving facilities during a Code Blue event. The way that they do that is in a lot of counties, they just flex space at existing programs. So like Road Home, things like that is what we'll do in Salt Lake County. In Salt Lake County, we are the only provider though that provides a specific place that is only for Code Blue. It gives us the opportunity to have a lot more beds because those flex spaces, usually it's 10 beds here or 15 beds there. So it's just not really enough to meet that need, whereas we're able to open up a lot more beds. But the way it works is during winter, which is October through April, is they look at the weather and it has to be 18 degrees or colder for a 2-hour period in that 24-hour time frame. They do forecast 72 hours in advance, and so we can get a little bit of notice usually. But as I said last night, we actually opened, but we didn't know until yesterday. It looked like it was not going to be Code Blue at all for the next couple of weeks, and suddenly yesterday we woke up and we're like, oh, okay. So it can be a little challenging because we don't find out until just several hours before we have to actually start processing to open the facility for the night. The county does let people know when it's Code Blue, and then we notify them that we're able to open, which facilities, things like that, and then we'll spread the word, sending emails out to different providers to let people know. So when our guests come into the different facilities that they have, we offer them a warm meal every night when they come in. Those are all done for volunteers, different organizations that are providing those. We provide really nice mats and beds. That picture is actually from last year, so it's a little different this year. We actually got from the county a lot of cots. So about half of our beds now this year are really nice, comfortable cots. It's interesting, the 2 times we've opened this year, everyone slept a lot better than in years past. So it's been really nice because it's very quiet at night. We do have very limited hotel vouchers, so if we do have families that come in because we're not able to allow anyone under 18 in the facility, we can try to get them diverted either to the family shelter out in Midvale or potentially put them in a hotel for a couple nights if we're, in a pinch where they can't get any other resource. As I said, we do our meals. We also serve a little light breakfast in the morning when they're going out. While they're there, we do have kind of some people that have some first aid knowledge and stuff and can kind of look at frostbite, things like that, help with some wound care. We have hygiene kits available, things like that. And then we'll give them some limited winter supplies, so like coats, things like that. So our current shelters that we are operating is at the First United Methodist Church. That was the original location. And so that site is just off of 2nd East and 203 South. Then we have St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral, which is only a block away. So it's over on First South and 231 East. When we open, we usually let our guests know that they cannot line up before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Just that way the buildings can still function. St. Mark's, they actually do the Hildegard's food pantry, so they don't want people kind of in the way while they're doing that until the evening. We open the doors to our guests at 8 o'clock at night. Our staff and volunteers get there about 6 to prepare the food, start setting up everything. That being said, I know that it was more a question when Sean was speaking about kind of their amount of people that they get. Most nights at our shelter, we are full before we open the doors. So we will actually identify everyone that's in line, get them wristbands so they can prepare to check in. And most nights we are actually already full before we've even checked in our first resident. So we are always looking for new opportunities for other buildings. This can be very hard on the churches. This is church season. It's winter with the holidays coming up, so they have a lot of different events. So there are certain nights that they can't open because they have different things going on. Last night we were only able to open the First United Methodist Church because St. Mark's, they were doing like a big wreath making event that they do and make wreaths for people that go out. So they were unavailable for that night. So we're always looking for other locations that we can get people. into, and we actually have a backup now that we're gonna be opening hopefully in January as backup. When we do talk about needing other places, though, we do try to keep it in that kind of downtown area, not just because the Second and Second Coalition is how we started, but because it is close to all those other resources. And as an example, St. Vinny's, it's a mile walk. So, our clients and our guests, they can get over there to get the services there through the day. They can get over to the library, things like that. So we try to keep them within a measured space. But if people have places outside, we're still open to that as well. So the timeline of how Code Blue works. Basically, like I said, typically we will have kind of a 3-day forecast. Once we know that, hey, it looks like maybe on Sunday we're going to open, we're going to send out emails to our partners, to our volunteers, things like that, saying, hey, looks like we might be opening in a couple days. The next day we'll verify that and start a little bit more of our preparations at the site, things like that. But really, most of the work happens that day of. We get that notification at 5 in the morning. It's around 5. It's by 6 a.m. though, we know. And then we start the process of actually opening. So we'll start getting all the volunteers signed up, ready to go, things like that, and get everyone there at 6 so we can prepare to open at 8 o'clock. So our guests, and you'll notice that we use that terminology. They are our guests. This is their home for the night. And we really use that compassion when we are working with them and checking them in. It's so amazing how these are people that are experiencing some of the hardest times in their lives. And they come in with a smile. They're happy to see us. They are, very thankful and things. And it's just super heartwarming when you are interacting with them and just seeing that the love they have for us, even though they're going through some difficult times. We do take care of some safety and security things. So anyone that's coming in, they are able to check their bags with us for the night. And if they check their bags, we don't go through them at all. So whatever's in there is their business. We just secure them away where they don't have access for the night. But they're also safe. They don't have to sleep with one eye open, making sure that their stuff's not going to get stolen during the night. If they are taking things in the building, we're going to just kind of go through them, see what theirs is. We don't allow any drugs, any smoking, any weapons inside the building. Those all have to stay out. We will check weapons and return them to them in the morning, other than firearms. We have restrooms, but we do not have shower facilities inside of the churches. So we really, aren't able to have them doing the bird bath and, showering in the restrooms because we want to keep those, clean and whatnot. We do some limited transportation in the evening for our guests and sometimes in the morning, but that's dependent upon our availability of a volunteer to drive our van. And they are really respectful about keeping things pretty clean. So how can you all collaborate with us? So again, we're looking for some different spaces. Churches are just really good. We are kind of talking with the LDS church about some places over on the west side, but we're open to other types of facilities that might do this. I know there's some event spaces in our Ballpark neighborhood that would make ideal locations, really. Meal sponsors. So a lot of times in the past, we've had sporadic meals of like, okay, I'm going to cook 10 meals and this person's bringing 12 meals. And really now we're looking for organizations that can at a minimum do meals for one facility, and each facility is 75 people. But we've actually partnered with some locations that are doing 150 meals for 10 of the nights this year. So we are still always looking for other meal sponsors for like even snacks or desserts, things like that. We are in the process of trying to get an ADA lift for our van so we can do more of that transport. We are always trying to get hospital grade pillows, waterproof mattress pads, just keep things a little easier to clean in the morning. And then we are looking for groups that just want to do different service projects so we can always put them to work doing different things with that. An important note, in the past, we have operated what we'd call kind of our thrift store inside the shelters where people can get pants or different clothes and things. We just found that it was really taking up a lot of space and we were very limited in our space, not having our own facilities. But it also was time consuming for volunteers to try to find a size 32 pant and, I need a size 6 shoe and things like that. So we've really offloaded all of that to some other service providers in the area that do that much better. We, however, are always open to socks, jackets, and hand warmers. Those are things that we give out loads of every night, so they don't stay on site very long. So again, you guys are my neighbors. Y'all are Ballpark residents. I know Ballpark, especially Ballpark Action Team and stuff, that you guys love to help the community. Though our shelters are kind of outside the ballpark, they do serve a lot of our unsheltered that kind of hang in this area. So I would love to see you all at our sites when we open up. So if you want to volunteer, there's a QR code and a link that you can use. We do different shifts, so there are only 2 to 3 hour shifts for volunteers coming in, setting up, getting people checked in, and just kind of helping us to run the program. It's a lot of fun, and like I said, it's really heartwarming when you just see how happy these people are to see us. And I think it gives us a little bit better perspective when we're seeing our people that we meet at the shelter out on the streets, and we kind of understand a little bit more about them. Here's some contact information. We actually have a new business line phone that has several extensions. You can call that number or refer it to if you come across anyone else sheltered out on the street. If they call that number and they hit the shelter extension, it will have a voicemail message that lets them know if we are open that night or not. We do have a Facebook and Instagram that you are able to do, and a link tree that has different other links for different things. And just note, we are always hiring, because we do contract based. It's really kind of, some people might only be available a couple nights a week, but if we're open, they're gonna come work. But we pay really well, because we do believe that not only should we be dignified and respectful for our guests, but we also want to treat our staff as, really important partners in this process. And so there's the information for that. And with that, are there any questions? Are there any online, Amy? Let's see.
Just praise.
Cool.
And
Well,
send-
thank you all. And again, I know I'm gonna see you at the shelter sometime when we open the next time, because y'all are awesome living in Ballpark.
And the best way to track you is just social media.
Yes.
Because I've looked online.
Absolutely.
I know if we had a code blue night tonight, you were not gonna be here, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
but I was trying to keep careful.
Yeah, and it was funny because like leading up this whole week, like I said, I was like, oh, cool, it's not code blue at all this week. And then yesterday
was.
morning, we were like, oh, well. Which is why I didn't get as much sleep yesterday, is because we had not anticipated opening, so we had to do 3 days worth of work in like 12 hours.
That's,
So it was tricky.
Thank you.
thank you for your work.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would say is, last year, at least, Senator Todd Weiler, State Senator Todd Weiler, put up legislation for not only code blue days, but for the opposite kind of need, code red days.
Yes,
Right? And it didn't get through this past year, but I'm really hopeful that he'll run it again.
Yeah,
There's obviously
we are
need for
working
it.
closely with him and a few others that are gonna co-sponsor it. What happened last year is it passed in the Senate, but when it went to the House, it was kind of a little too late, that they couldn't get a lot of information, so there was a lot of questions around it that the representatives had that they couldn't get answered in time.
Mhm.
So it ended up failing. We're pretty hopeful that it will pass this year.
Great.
A couple other pieces of legislation that we're looking at is changing some of the code blue laws, but also just some of the more like how it's done on an administrative level. For instance, that 3-day notice, we want to say that if it becomes in that 3-day window, that's just locked in. That we
That
don't
makes
have to
sense.
wait till that final morning, because then we can start getting our volunteers registered. Because we don't like to register everyone and then the morning of be like, oh, it's not code blue, never mind,
No, it
cancel,
feels like
don't
a
show
total
up. So,
scramble.
and of course, we all know that freezing is 32 degrees.
Yeah.
We know that we have to compromise, but we would like to see that temperature move more in that direction. If we can even get it to 20, that will be helpful. So that's a couple pieces of legislation that you all are, up on the hill doing other things, or anyone up there that you could put a bug in their ear, that would be helpful.
Thank you, I appreciate hearing that. I think Todd Weiler gets a lot of guff for some of his online conversations, but that's a good piece of legislation that I hope gets passed.
We do as well.
Annie,
Who's needed.
could you tell us who you are, why
Yeah.
you're here?
Do you want me to stand or just?
I'm okay with either. It does seem like if you could sit up there.
Okay,
and we
I'll
put
just,
it in the
yeah.
middle so you feel less like alone.
Yeah, I'll stand. I'm Annie Romano. I am the new representative of Precinct 5, which includes Ballpark for the Salt Lake City School District. I live just above Liberty Park and grew up in Salt Lake City. Went to East High, so I'm a product of the school district. And I have 2 kids in the school district. So I have been getting my feet under me. As you probably know, we had some closure discussions that happened. And yes, or 2 days ago, we had the vote for innovations, which is right here in the building. And that is looking like it will be closed, and we're going to try to move the program to be this most of the faculty and student at another campus. So in January, those plans will be put forward by the district and worked through and voted on probably in February. So that's a sad thing. I was at Innovations today talking to the staff and faculty, and the district sent over their HR director, Logan Hall, to meet with the faculty and work through their questions, because part of the decision-making process was to ensure that they would all have positions next year at the district if they wanted them. That's probably the most relevant. There's obviously things going on. I don't know, is Riley technically in your neighborhood? No.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah, we've
it's a
got,
little farther west. But the CTC Center will continue to be here until the Riley Elementary School new CTE Center will be opened, and then this space will likely be taken over by Salt Lake City College. Yes, questions? Yeah.
I don't know that I'm in your district, but I am a Salt Lake City citizen.
Uh-huh.
What is gonna happen with the buildings that are
great
being
question.
closed?
Yeah, so this is a something that's on a lot of people's minds, right? So, this used to be a district building. This was South High, and there are a lot of buildings throughout the city that used to be district buildings and were sold. Currently, there's the board directed a couple of months ago for there to be a assessment of all of the district properties, which includes a real estate assessment. And long-term, what those buildings could be converted to, or how much they could be sold off for. And so, it would be a surge of funds if we sold off a building, for example, but then long-term, we would lose that space. Demographic reports obviously are the main reason these schools are closing. Enrollment numbers across the east side of Salt Lake County are all down. So that was a really hard pill to swallow, I think, including in the innovations, because some of the kids who go to innovations are out of district because it's an open enrollment type of situation. But just looking at the numbers, there's no way, it's like every school would be fighting to poach each other's students. There's just not this student population that there once was. So long-term, it looks like some properties, may be converted to different uses, could possibly be sold, but it's still under assessment. And I think it will take a while for each property decision to be made, and I think it will be based, on.
I'm worried that Salt Lake City will liquidate those properties. And I'm afraid that is short-sighted.
Yeah.
Because of demographic trends.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City's a young city.
Yeah, so demographically, I don't imagine that there will ever be a resurgence of the student population that would mean we would need to reopen them as schools. But they will, I mean, the city, based on code, the city gets first right of refusal for all of this district properties. So that would possibly, the city could possibly buy them. A lot of people have many ideas that have been thrown around, like community centers, or, you know, the Hawthorne building could be used as district employee housing for a discounted rate. You know, there's all sorts of different ideas, but I don't know.
Movie.
Yeah, they've been filming a movie there. That's over. And then Open Classroom was there for a minute. When they had some infrastructure challenges. So yes, I think it's a big question. And I think because it's a big question, the district is being slow and methodical about the choice.
So projections are that Salt Lake City's school age population is never gonna. And that's because we had larger families when those schools were built?
Just based on birth rates, there's no demographer who's like, yeah, it's gonna go back up to 3.5. You know, just based
That
on,
makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
The housing cost is a main driving factor on the east side. Obviously, Utah's birth rate is pretty healthy compared to a lot of other states, but those are in different counties.
Yeah.
So
And even that's dropping.
yeah, and even that's dropping. So
Globally.
yeah, so there's just, it's not likely that any of those schools will ever be reopened as schools,
Okay.
but they could be converted into other community use. But I don't know what that would look like. It's still, I think it will take a while to evaluate.
So I need to talk to my city council person.
No, I don't, at this point, not yet. It would only be if the district decides to sell it. But it's based on kind of district need. Like currently there are a few district needs, like a testing site. But could that be in a different, you know, we have to assess all of the properties.
Right.
So, yeah.
I have a question about fiscal transparency.
Uh-huh.
So the new school board building, it almost doubled in price than what it was originally
Yeah.
thought. And Highland High School and West High are gonna be 300 million each to redo. Like, how does a person, if they're curious, go and look at these numbers that seem
Yeah,
pretty
it's
high?
all on the website of the Salt Lake City School District. They have, because this communications have been such a big issue, obviously everyone kind of wants to know what's happening. They update that weekly to give updates on construction and projected costs. But as we know, because of inflation in recent years, the district building was quoted as something and then obviously goes above and beyond that. So the fiscal responsibility, every year we look at the budget, there are the bonds. I'm no expert, but there are people who are full-time looking at that, and it is a huge priority of the board. And that's why now and in the past few years, the boards have had to make some of those hard, tough calls that we're getting kicked down the road. I mean, the district has been declining and school closures have been a possibility for decades. And a lot of people didn't want to do it because that's the bad guy, you know. But I think the board has realized like we have this obligation to be fiscally responsible. And the buildings that we are building we have a sustainability goal. And if you can look online at all the plans, they're gonna be really cool in terms of sustainability. So the idea is that they'll be really long-term cost effective because they're generating thermal power as well as solar. So there are a lot of things that are going into those calculations. But yeah, West High construction has already started. So gonna be a long few years, I think, of that happening, but it's underway and the plans look really good, so.
Do you ever foresee a West Side High School
It's a good question. I don't know. Obviously, that's a, a thing that's been debated. Population wise, um, if I don't imagine that the current existing schools could be sustained if then a West Side school were added. So that's been the debate. Like, I don't think, anyone's necessarily opposed to the idea of that for Glendale School, and that community has wanted it for a long time. I think again, it's been a matter of school populations in order to sustain all of the staff that are needed. There's kind of like a right size, and so yeah, I guess if we could rewind time like 50 years ago in the construction of, well, I guess it was more than years of Highland or something, it could have been done differently, but with what the populations are now, I don't imagine that would be possible, but maybe.
I just know those kids are spending a lot of time on bus.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my nieces and nephews live in Glendale, and so I totally get it, and I understand the community need. I just don't know financially and demographically if it would work.
Looks like Council-elect Carlson has a query. What updates, if any, can you share about the proposed legislation that charter schools would have right of first refusal in purchasing district properties?
Good question. I do not have any super insights into that, but tomorrow I have a legislative breakfast with some of the legislators. So we have a little docket of questions, so that will be on the docket. I don't know. There's always all sorts of possible bills that we hear the buzz on, and whether or not they come to pass is,
Well, we're supposed to try to have fewer of them, right? That trend hasn't
no.
gone in the way that anybody needs it to.
There's always a lot of education bills from the state legislature, what they want to see happen, so, and then the district has to enact it, so I don't know. It's a good question. I'll ask tomorrow.
Well, we do appreciate, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. We've had some concerns that I've communicated to you about school safety around our school bus stops. And I wonder, is there any way that we can be even more proactive about that? Could we involve, could we think about crossing guards visiting the area, and I know the school bus stop was moved and another one was created in a very well lit area, Jefferson Park. You could go over there right now.
Yeah.
It's lit bright as day.
Yeah.
I love that. But there have been some concerns about
Yeah, I think this is a really important concern around Horizonte and Liberty Elementary School. I've heard a lot of parents. The SCC, so the school community councils, annually are required to do a safe walking route and a safe school plan. And as part of that, go to the district with their concerns of bus stops or crosswalks. So, some school community councils are really well organized and put something together and request it. And then of course we collaborate with the city, transportation regarding crossing guards. The city provides crossing guards. So, the district has the infrastructure around the schools and provides the route that they believe is the safest and publishes that out to families and say, we recommend going this way, and that's kind of where the kids will be walking, and some adults usually are on that route, but it's a difficult thing. So I guess, let me know if you have further concerns. We meet,
we got another I forgive me, I didn't send it to in the past date, but we got another update from a parent concerned about a car following his daughter to the bus stop.
Yeah.
So we need to come up with something.
Yeah, so I know like Liberty Elementary area because there's some students who have to cross toward around State Street that they are hoping to request another crossing guard. You know, again, it really is a collaboration between the city because they employ crossing guards.
I just spoke with Allison Dupler last night, who's head of that city.
Okay,
I don't know if it's a department or a division, but
Yeah.
urban. Forget what it is, urban,
planning.
no, it's not urban planning, it's like urban safety or urban, I'll look it up. But they're over graffitis, clean team,
Oh.
crossing guards, all sorts of urban related issues.
Division of Urban Services.
That's it.
I have a cheat
Thanks,
sheet.
Rebecca Allen.
I can read it.
Ferris.
Gave us to the rest.
Yeah, so I don't know, you know, I think it's currently just a case by case thing, like if something gets flagged. Typically Isaac Astle, he's super busy because he's over all of the facilities and grounds and the current construction. So he usually passes it off to someone in his team.
Got it.
If it's a bus stop related question, Ken Martinez is the one who is transportation, so he chooses where the bus, he can move a bus stop. Which
He did, he's
yeah,
super responsive.
super
So
responsive,
amazing.
super nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's not bus stop related, you know, I think some of it is city collaboration, you know,
All right, I'll reach out to
safety.
Allison and copy our, I think we're in a transition moment with our community liaison from the Salt Lake Police Department, so we want to make sure that we like bridge that gap, and I don't know to what extent like they and urban services
Yeah.
should be.
But let me know, I mean, if it's a student, obviously we care.
Yeah.
I mean, we care about everyone. I care if it's not a student too, but
Because you're charged.
yeah, that's a little bit more in the scope, so.
Okay, well, we will try to close that loop.
Okay, well, happy to be here. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, you've got
Yeah.
a hard road to hoe, I think.
I know it is, but I'm hopeful. I think we can do good things.
Okay. All right, am I missing anybody else who's on the agenda? I'm just totally blanking on. All right, John Margetts, this is your last meeting as a board member. I don't like that one bit.
Are we all gonna cry about that?
I mean, I gotta cry about something, right? Anyway, you've been exceptional. We really thank you for your 2 years of service. You've done a marvelous job in representing the business community on 300 West. Kelly Lake, I know you're gonna chime in on here. You gotta give John Margetts props. He's amazing. I know because you're his business neighbor. But you've done wonderful things with starting the cleanup group with the Gail Miller Homeless Resource Center and always being on those meetings. You've just been a really steady presence. You've shown up with me at the state legislature on your date night with your wife on a Friday and make comment to committee. Like, that's a really big deal, John. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Kelly Lake. I can't say enough good things about John Margetts. I realize John is stepping down because he is going to be taking a bigger step in another reputable organization, the Boy Scouts of America.
That's right.
So, I know you're gonna continue to do excellent things in your community, but we will miss you. So,
Well, I will still be around, don't worry. I'm not going away.
and you've expanded, which is super cool.
That's right.
Yeah, and your new building's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, still on 300 West.
Well, thank you.
Anyway. And anybody else want to say something nice about John? Here's the time. He's right here.
Thank you, guys.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
There with us.
Thanks for hosting board meetings at your office.
Oh.
We have a nicer place to host them. If you still need in the future, let me know.
Got a library lab now.
Well, that's
I don't
true.
have to bother you. But anyway, but I hope to still see you on from time to time on the neighborhood advisory council.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, sure.
But anyway, John stepping down, so we've got 2 open slots. I would love to continue my work with the Ballpark Community Council. I care about you guys a lot, but you're welcome to unelect me if you want to. A lot of you know about my community interests because I've yapped about them for the past 11 weeks while I was running for city council, but I care about getting grants for our neighborhood. I volunteer at the Kensington Street Festival every year and give out water. I go pick up trash. I show up at the Neighborhood Advisory Council for Gail Miller Homeless Resource Center 4 times a year. I go talk at the state legislature, and I have just been invited to join Representative Tyler Clancy as he steps down from the state legislature and becomes the new Wayne Niederhauser, our homelessness czar. And I think it's really important that the Ballpark neighborhood has a voice in influencing some of the decisions that are made there. So I would love to keep on serving in that capacity. I like a good community meeting. It's a great learning opportunity. That's what I got.
Kelly Lake has asked.
We have, let's see.
John is the best.
Yeah, John is the best. Thank you, Dennis
Thanks, Kelly.
Harris. Thank you, Mike Young.
And Dennis.
I've occupied the chair position, and then other folks have been rotating through in different positions. We technically have, I can refer you to the bylaws. We technically have things like the role of secretary, but gosh, we would really enjoy some more help on social media. So I know we would. The major organizational goal that we had for the past 2 years was refreshing our bylaws. Thank you for hosting those meetings, John. I think our last set of bylaws was either from 2014 or 2016. We needed to revisit that. And in doing so, we uncovered some kind of weird issues. But in our bylaws, we say, here are all the things that we would love for board members to accomplish. But in general, I think our goal is just to sort of keep up with the neighborhood issues as they arise, right? Like we're here to host conversations on zoning, new services that are showing up to the neighborhood, helping to facilitate conversations about the use of the ballpark site. A lot of these things we can't anticipate on in just a resident or small business owner level. Kelly Lake, you can talk about your experience as being a very helpful member of the Neighborhood Advisory Council for the Gail Miller. That is definitely a role that different people have subbed into as appropriate. Jeff, what am I missing? Jeff, you keeper of the historical flame.
Well, essentially, to answer Kelly's question, the chair position is up for re-election this year on the election cycle, and there are 2 board positions with openings. Well, Janice is volunteered to renominate herself as a continuing board member. And there's a replacement slot open for John as an additional board member. And Valerie Tuoni has been nominated as a potential candidate for that slot as well.
I'd like
we
to
can
say
take any other nominations for board positions as needed.
I'd like to say why I'm excited about Valerie, because with John leaving, our small business voice needs to be more represented. And as a owner of Manny's, I really am excited to see that node growing in our neighborhood. We've just got a new sandwich shop in that area that seems destined for incredible success. Very excited about Feast from the East. But I also think, it's become clear the more I get to know Manny's that it serves a really important open community space. And I'm excited to potentially have you serve. But I also think that corner, that node of the neighborhood also, there's some traffic there that we'd like to keep our eye on, if that's fair to say.
I agree.
Would you like to introduce yourself more?
Sure. I'm Valerie Tawana. This is my husband, JD Allen. JD actually works at First Step House on the maintenance crew. He that was really exciting to hear all of the wonderful things. He also was on the Reach team with First Step House, and but I grew up here in Salt Lake City. I'm a Salt Lake City native. Spent my 10 most formative years in Bountiful. We don't have to count those, but spent most of my time here in Salt Lake City.
We don't get to choose where we're born. We get.
Well, I was from the time I was 10 to 20. I lived in Bountiful, and JD and I bought Manny's about 3.5 years ago. I worked at Manny's for a long time before that, and since we've taken over, we have really strived to become a place of a lot of diversity and inclusion, and we're a neighborhood bar. We call ourselves a neighborhood bar because it's very important to us that we do a lot of like community building things there, and it doesn't just have to be the ballpark. We get people from all over the valley, and I personally believe that we have the most diverse clientele in Salt Lake City. You can find a lot of really cool, interesting people from all walks of life there. But it's really important to me to be, I haven't been to many of the community council things because it takes a lot of time to run a very small bar.
A bar also typically does a lot of its business during evening hours, which is when we host our meetings.
Which is true. But I am very excited to get involved in the community council, the Ballpark Community Council. We live in Liberty Wells. And actually my best friend is the community chair, is the chair of the community, the Liberty Wells Community Council. And I think it's time to, kickstart my civic engagement, and I would love to do it here with the Ballpark community. And so I don't know what else you want to know about me. I have a history of working with I worked on the 4th Street medical outreach van for a while, and I was a community health worker for some time. And those jobs were very hard, and I prefer to run a bar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Those are very hard jobs, and I have the utmost respect for everyone who engages in that very, very needed those services. So that's about it for me. If you have any questions, glad to answer.
We're also very excited about Beats from These. They're great neighbors with some
Wonderful neighbors.
No,
get them on board with us, so I think it's great for the neighborhood.
I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
And if I could just make a comment, I think I've really enjoyed serving on the board and representing the business side of things. The board is comprised of some really good people who live here, who love this neighborhood, I can tell. And I love the fact that I was able to lend the business interests, into some of the conversations. And so I would fully endorse what you're doing from a business perspective.
Wonderful.
I neither do I live in this neighborhood, but because my business is in this neighborhood, I have a very high interest in what's going on.
Yeah.
So I would fully endorse what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
And while I have the floor, if I can just also say, I just have to make a couple comments to the group about Amy and also about Janice. First of all, Janice is probably the most expert person on on all of these papers and things that come in on about different building code or building codes and things like that. Yeah, I don't know, Janice, you know everything about that stuff. Since you worked in that industry for so long. And Amy has done is just I love what you're doing as well, Amy. You do a great job bringing in the different people and things that are going on in the neighborhood to help educate us and know what's going on. So great job to both of you. So I just want to give my endorsements out to those three individuals, the three of you.
Kind of you to say. All right, shall we make this, are there any other self-nominations, nominations among the group? Online, in person? I'm sorry, our polling feature doesn't work online. I would be happy, this was some of the technical stuff that we were working on earlier with Patrick from the city library. It is a pity that I would love to be able to do it in a slightly more official way, but in terms of online polling. As it works, I think I'm just going to pass my computer over to Jeff, so it's not me administering it's my own thing. That doesn't seem savory, but I'll let Jeff manage the chat on Zoom if that's okay, or you don't look happy about that. It's okay, but yeah, let's pass around some ballots, and this is the same.
I have ballots for everyone in the room. I don't know how to handle the online portion unless have everyone comment.
I would say
in there that they're supporting the incumbents that are opposed candidates unless they have another nomination or write-in candidates.
Can I say Mr.
Thanks again for having us.
Oh, yes, Janice, good goodness, yes, please, Janice, say a few things. You could even get on.
I don't need to be in front of you.
Hi, Janice.
So I have been a board member for the past 2 years. And I am passionate about shaping the future of our neighborhood. What I do bring is an educational background and professional expertise in urban planning. And then I just want you to know that I'm the one who shows up, and that's for other communities and the projects they do. I do the volunteering.
You've even helped move the bricks at the
Yes.
Fifth Ward Meeting House. I know because I saw you do it.
Yes, I do a bunch of physical labor.
And I've seen you show up at the underpass. I've seen you show up at cleanups. You show up. See it.
And would pie and beer and whatever screams for Halloween. Stream of screams or something like that. But yeah, I was there.
You show up. Anyway, this might seem, now that we're down to not too many people in person or online, this might seem odd, but to go through the motions, but it's in our bylaws. This is part of being a recognized community organization with Salt Lake City to go through this every year and then certify back to the city that we did this. So I'm stealing that vocabulary from Christina Robb because I saw elections go down at the East Liberty Park Community Organization meeting. I thought that was a wise way to put it. So, oh look, the camera zoomed in on the back of my head again. Great. Anyway, Jeff, would you be so kind as to administer ballots? And again, please, if anybody else is interested, you're welcome to send a direct message, and it will be.
We should probably ask everybody online if they have any other nominees
Certainly.
first, and then if not, is everybody can just respond that are they in support of the people that are nominated or volunteering to renew their term.
I'll try to summarize that.
I didn't vote. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The,
Alrighty. Jeff, thank you kindly for writing up a ballot. There you go. You were really optimistic with the number of ballots you printed.
I'm waiting for you, you never know.
I appreciate that they paid up for it.
Well, we have had before.
All right, who's the guest speaker?
The ballot results from the room
Guys,
are unanimous to
we
re-elect.
got 3 votes online, say the same so far. There's that, and then you can see the others up there. Valerie, we're gonna all have to learn karaoke.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, no.
Start doing it all the time.
That's two.
I think other people do sweat hands.
Here's your name.
Aw, thanks, Brandy. Your vote counts to me.
I've gotten several off of there. I
Oh.
don't see any others.
Uh, I do not. That's the city library. It's the-
I got Eric and Stephanie. Kelly.
Alrighty.
Amy, do you understand, any discussion with the legislature with the changes for, common board? That, you know, the switch involved.
No, I don't know if that would make it to the legislature as a discussion.
Well, I mean, we did have that one gentleman here. Being to us.
Yes, he's on the homeless services board. That might be a matter of just funding administration. So, but the homeless services board,
He was like, oh, there's gonna be this.
I'm trying to remember who appoints them. I don't remember who appoints the homeless services board. It might be the governor technically, but it might not be. Gosh, but they're the state level board that makes the funding decisions. That gentleman who's here was on the homeless services board. Yeah. Jim Behan.
This is
Okay, looks
Okay.
like all the votes are in.
Alrighty,
Last call, I think we've gotten all the votes. And if that's the case, it looks like it's unanimous that Amy Hawkins is reelected as chair of the community council. Janice is reelected as our board member, and Valerie Tuaone is we're welcoming her in as our new board member.
I'm so excited. All right, with that, 2025 is adjourned. All right. Thanks, George.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Now.
Congratulations, Holly. Great group, great team to work with. You can enjoy some stuff.
Good luck with the Boy Scouts.
Oh, I will.
That'll be great.
Oh, it's really my son that's dragging me into it, so.
Of course, that's.
So